This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monty Mohr, and I'm with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm CareyAnn with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com. CareyAnn, good to see you.
So good to see you.
Man,
Look at us.
Am I blessed today?
Oh,
to have
it's going to be a fun
two
time.
power blondes amongst us here, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Chrissy Amundson, good to see you today. Thank you for joining us.
And she's in person. I love this. This is exciting.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I didn't, I really didn't know what Chrissy was going to say last year when I made a comment about you're familiar with Suits, aren't you?
Oh, I love Suits, yes.
Well, Suits has got this
Carey and I are one.
lady that by the name of Donna.
Yes.
And I said, Chrissy, I got to tell you, you're my Donna. I can't live without you.
That's an honor. I'll take it.
Hey, that's good. That woman was powerhouse.
Absolutely.
She is one.
I mean, anyway, thank you for being our Donna, and thank you for sharing how you got to be our Donna.
Yeah, of course.
Today we're going to get into that. Before we do, though, I love asking people, so what are you reading?
Oh.
I think that the answer to that question will tell you a lot of, not that you're, investigating people or judging people or all those kind of things. I'm just saying, I like to connect with people we have some common ground, and as much as possible. And I'm pretty flexible. If you looked at my book list here, I think I have 144 titles in my Audible account. Mm-hmm. And I've got from How to Raise Chickens for Dummies to some of the most magnificent leadership books that you can imagine. And I have found at 72 years old, the more I know, the less I recognize that I really actually do know.
Yeah.
I listened to something today on unreasonable hospitality.
Ooh, that's a good one. Such a good one.
What a great book. But he said, you want to learn something? Teach it. Mm-hmm. You want to learn something? Teach it. And I've been saying for a while here with our family of professionals that you only know what you can effectively convey. So I guess that's kind of a similar way of saying it. And but I really like that. But I would highly recommend. I get most of the books that I decide to read as a referral from somebody, or I'm listening to somebody talk about, hey, you need to check out this book. I mean, for instance, last week I started the 48 Laws of Power. The reason I did that was because Patrick Bet-David, who wrote Your Next 5 Moves, he required his entire staff of hundreds of young salespeople to read that and understand the keys to power, and he cites all these ancient leaders and warriors, and it was just really, really good. But if I had to make a high recommendation, it would be between Patrick's book, Your Next 5 Moves, or Winning by Tim Grover. He was Michael Jordan's coach.
Yeah.
He is dry as can be, but boy, oh boy. I mean, it's also just really great if you're a Michael Jordan fan to find out just how he accomplished what he did. He was beyond a human as far as his commitment, to making things happen. So highly recommend Unreasonable Hospitality for you realtors. There have been many, many times where I compare what we do as real estate professionals to someone serving in a restaurant. Ladies, you both have done that, I think, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so do you see the similarity?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that book, Unreasonable Hospitality, this is written by the guy who either owns or runs, I forget what, maybe both, the most successful, the number one restaurant in the world. Number one in the world. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is, as real estate professionals, what really separates us but our commitment to serve, our commitment to take care of people. I think that's why I've had an advantage, because I'm a servant by nature. I love helping people. But
I think the problem after reading a book like that or being in hospitality, I'm very picky on my hospitality. Yeah. Like I know I go over and above, so there's an expectation. When you're in a restaurant, I'm terrible at it. Well, because when that's what you live by, your next review, right? When you have crappy service, or they won't even tell you who they are, or they won't look you in the eye, or they
anyway, or they hover too much, or they don't come back
at all. Teach a class on it, before you go through it. And I think with real estate agents or anybody within the sales, world, we should all, have that mini class. I think many of us just assume there's an assumption that, you're getting in sales, so you know how to, do the right thing and, put your hand out when it's the right place to do that, and try to think 2 steps ahead.
Have a decent handshake.
Yeah, all the things, Even today, teaching an 11-year-old, right? We look in their eyes, like lift your head, look in their eyes, and how do you shake one person's hand, So little things like that definitely go a long way. First impressions, that's a huge thing. And it's fun when you see that somebody's really worked hard to create a really strong first impression, even for us, so that's a good thing. I love good books. That's the book that's next to my bed too. Now, we talked, you love to listen to books. I'm an old school reader, even though I'm terrible at reading, so it takes me forever and a day to read it. But I love a good recommendation too. So we had Sean Carpenter come to town, and I know you really enjoy him. And he talked about the Fred factor. Have you read that book? Yeah, no. So that's another good one. I think that's an old school book that's come back, and it says how passion in your work and life can turn the ordinary into extraordinary. And
the founder of FedEx, right?
Yeah. So just changing, you can just be ordinary and make it special, right? There's thousands of loan officers. There's thousands of real estate agents. How do you stand out?
Tens of thousands.
Well, we had done a show on passion before. We talked about the passion conversation. That's a book I love. And so, passion. And I think passion is what makes your service good, because you have to have that heart behind it to care, to give that service. So
and another one he said too is now discover your strengths. The revolutionary Gallup program that shows you how to develop your unique talents and strengths. He was talking about how when we get a report card as kids, as parents, sometimes we focus on the lower grades to raise those up, where we should be focusing on all the things that we do really, really well, because that's the strength that's going to take us to the next level, as an adult. And so I think, sitting down and figuring out what we're so good at, and really igniting more, fuel on that fire, I think will help us, and then hire into, the things that we're not as strong, so you've done that if you're not as strong with your organization, with the most talented organizational gal here.
When you talk like this, it's a combination of who, not how, right? You just said, and the gap and the gain. Don't focus on the gap. Embrace, enjoy, and reward yourself for the gain. We get stuck on what we haven't accomplished rather than enjoy and give ourselves some grace in that. Look, I'm way better than what I used to be. I may not be what I want to be, but I'm great way because we've made a commitment. Like I shared this morning on the huddle call from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, about I'm not making excuses anymore. I'm focused. So, Chrissy, real quick before we move forward here is tell me a recent book that you've read or a reading that you would recommend, because I hope everybody takes this to heart. When you're a voracious learner, like the three of us are, I'm an information junkie. I admit to it. I feel like at this point in life that if I don't keep marching forward, it's like an escalator is going to pull me back. And my greatest fear is my brain turning into mush, because I've been around some folks who didn't know their name or where to go to the bathroom or whatever. And it's like, I don't ever want to end up like that. Please, God. So learning is one way to keep that muscle alive and growing.
So my focus has been on, I feel like daily we're kind of doing things that are professional development. So my focus has been on kind of that mental strength. And so I'm rereading a book called Own Your Everyday. It's by Jordan Dooley, and she's fantastic. And it's kind of about getting that, you talked about this on the huddle too, about mental strength is kind of the beginning of everything, right? You have to be strong there. So she talks about really owning what's in front of you every day and doing what you can to make things as great as they can be, and having goals and, having a process for reaching those. And so Own Your Everyday has been fantastic. And then there's one that I have I started this years ago and I never finished it. It's one of those on the bookshelf. So it's been haunting me. So I said, I'm finishing this book this year. It's called The Happiness Project. And so this is an entrepreneurial woman who wanted to see how happiness impacted her business success. And so she started implementing things that weren't necessarily productivity based. They weren't what we consider, those money making activities, but they were purely happiness inducing, and then kind of seeing how those relate back to her success. So that's been interesting to see. I'll report back how that one ends, but it's been good so far.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I think as we age and grow within our careers, initially maybe we're going because we're trying to, move the needle. But, sometimes we forget who we are. Sometimes we forget our passions, because we're so focused on, creating a business and maybe making that, profitable, which is all good. But I love that, continuing to add. This past year, adding just self-care. It was a challenge. I'm almost a couple weeks to the end of every single 3 days a week, and making that true commitment is not an easy discipline, and so, wow, it's been a huge change for me. And some people, I was fearful, maybe I'll make less if I focused, and gave myself just an hour or 30 minutes, and it's crazy. You end up making more, you do more, you're healthier, you're feeling better. So creating, happiness and healthiness is a good thing for sure.
Absolutely.
Make America healthy again, right?
Oh, anyway, there you go.
That's my here.
So anyway,
there he is.
Gotta keep girls on your toes,
I love it.
But anyways, so guys, win the battle here. You got to win the battle here. You got to be mentally strong. I believe next year is going to be an amazing year for those who are ready. Get ready, okay? Get ready.
We're going to thrive in 25.
Yes.
There, money.
I like that.
Big time. All right. So one of the ways we're going to help you today thrive is, I'm sitting with two of the most powerful women that I know of on the planet, okay? They get a lot done in a short amount of time, and they seem like they have lives as well. I'm not sure sometimes. But I know that we keep going back to a topic that came up at our recent get-together called time blocking. And time blocking, I think when people think about that, I think they turn off their brains and just, again, let life kind of control them. And I know I'm guilty of that at times, I want to be that broker who's always available, no matter what day it is, no matter what time it is. My wife knows that, and so that's hard to time block when you have that kind of
for sure
response time. But anyhow, so ladies, let's talk about that. Chrissy, I love your bullet points. Let's make sure that we have those connected, if you don't mind, in PDF form or something where agents can download these, because I think it's one thing to hear it, and that's why people like to read books instead of just listening to them. But it's one thing to have them itemized like this so that you can highlight the areas that you need some help with or focus on.
Well, this topic was interesting because I know we said, we've had requests to talk about time blocking.
Right.
People hear, this is the key to success, but I was like, okay, well, what exactly is it? Like, we've got an idea, but is there some structure behind it, or why is it important? So I'm an information junkie in that regard. I want to research something. And so I kind of jumped in and I found a great book and some kind of bullet points here that talk about exactly what it is. So, I think that time blocking is really taking back control. And some people see it as being restrictive to their schedule, that they kind of want a free flow, and then they end up having all this time get away from them. And so time blocking, I think that's what has made me feel a little bit more in control of, I'm an entrepreneur, I run this nonprofit, I do this here for support with our agents and our brokerage, and I'm always juggling a lot. So how do I feel?
You have a team in Utah and you have a license in Florida, and some of them's there. You were doing an open house 2 weeks ago, and down there you have a listing in Key West. I mean,
it's true.
That's why I feel like both of you guys are so qualified to talk about this topic. It's one thing to talk about time blocking when you have nothing on your schedule.
But it works.
When you really have when everybody's scratching their head, how does she do that?
Yeah, they don't know what state I'm in because I'm in all these places all at once. But it's just I've got great control of my schedule now because I really embraced time blocking. And I'm a color coder, and I've got different subcategories, and I've got all the tricks. So
and that's amazing. I don't have crayons, just so you know. So I add a different flair to it, right? And I am not an organized person, so time blocking for me has helped me bring back that control and create structure around, especially being a working mom and a full-time working mom, and making sure that she is all places at all times as well, and wearing multiple hats. So I added play there where I hired another number 2 to help me with that. So it's a nice combination, but I definitely follow a watch and a tempo. I think that for me keeps me, moving in a quicker fashion. I'm requiring myself personally to do so much within the next 30 minutes, and if I want to ride the bike this morning, your call is at 8:45, right? Aubrey has to be dropped off at 7:30. So I have to be back home on the bike by a certain time, which means the clothes have to be on before I drop her off, right? Because there is a rhythm. Now I don't work full time on Saturday and Sunday. I'm present with Aubrey, and then I do things behind the scenes. So my time blocking starts Monday through Friday, right? And there's a very specific time that I start. So time blocking has made a huge difference in my life and allows me the opportunity to be a mom, and still have fun and still have a profitable business, and continue to grow. So,
well, what a great point. It's not just time blocking those business hours, you're time blocking personal hours and making sure that you have space for that and for your family. And so I think that, people think that this is just a business thing, but using time blocking in your personal life allows you to be present in those important moments for your kids and your family and your spouse and everything. So that's important too.
Yeah, I think we all have personal goals. We're aging, we're maturing, Monty. Oh, by the way, happy birthday. Happy belated birthday. Yes. And so he will still be the oldest in on the panel. But as we do, right, age and mature, like keeping you have been somebody who's inspired me to always take my health seriously. And that was a really big, important play. How can you still be very successful in your career and also be healthy, right? How can you make a change in your life without putting it within a schedule and or time blocking? So I do think that's key as you plan out your 2025 for sure. So let's go through some structuring of how that works.
Okay, so this is...
And Chrissy, let's talk at my level, okay?
Okay.
Not at you guys' level or your superwomen, okay? But bring it down to where a third grader can understand it, okay?
I don't think that's your level, Monty. Come on.
Well, when it comes to this topic, about being organized, I admit that is not my strong point. But my point is the value of this for a real estate professional needs to be, something that we can grasp.
Yeah. Okay. And I think as we're talking too, as a real estate professional or someone that is you're the CEO of your own business, you think about working in your business and on your business, right? There's two different plays that we want to look at. So, you can say that you're time blocking for your business, but there's two different sides of that, right? There's sometimes where we're on stage, and then there's other times where we're behind, the screen, writing out our plans or, learning a new product, or how to have the best open house, or gain a new listing, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think that the step one is probably a third grade level. I think we can do that. Step one is just get started. I think that is the hardest part. People think there needs to be a big game plan, like I'm not ready to get started yet. I need more preparation. Well, I think the key to this is just jump into it and get started. If you time blocked 1/2 hour of your day, if you've done the beginning of your day but haven't gotten all the way through your day with your time blocking, you still got started. It's still progress. So I think we need to be not scared of the slow start, because even a slow start is better than no start. Little Dr. Seuss rhyming for you there.
Yeah, I mean, and when we talk about get started, Hal Elrod was a big
I was just thinking about him.
Yeah, was a gentleman we brought to town so many years ago, and he wrote the book Miracle Morning, right? And so that helped me get started in my day, pick a time. And somebody said, if you want to make more money, wake up an hour earlier. Okay, well, that seems like an easy formula. Yeah. All I have to do is set the alarm 1 hour earlier and I'm going to make more money. So let's try there, right? So we could get started with that.
Step one.
And then figure out who you are. I like to get to work. I don't like working out right when I wake up. My brain is fresh to create problems. So do you for you. You figure out what you're who you are, right? You can't be something you're not either. Like I do love my coffee. I love, in my cozy bathrobe and doing that versus jumping up and getting, dressed to go, work out or something like that. So,
which kind of plays into too, which is stay realistic. Because if someone tried to tell me to get up at 5 a.m. to start my day, I'd be like, that's a great intention, but that isn't realistic for me. I'm like a 7:30er, you know?
Oh, really? I've already done 2 time blocks before 7:30.
But I get a lot of work done in the evening hours, so I make up for it.
Oh, there you go. Because I'm an early bird, and I'm out.
Yep.
My daughter better get to bed because Mama's going to bed.
Yeah, we're in bed by 8:45. 15 minutes of Seinfeld. To go to bed,
done.
Not even a whole episode, 15 minutes. But stay realistic, right? Yeah. I'm not going to do 5 a.m., but you guys aren't going to do 11 o'clock at night, you know? So be realistic for what works for you, because if you try to fit into something that isn't yours, it's just not going to work. You're going to not doing it, and it's just going to go by the wayside. So
on that topic, let me just, I'm not disagreeing with what you say. I think it's really important to find you and be the best version of you. I will say, if you want something enough in your schedule, you feel like you're already too full, like what CareyAnn just talked about, was getting up that hour earlier and dedicating that to you. The savers that Hal Elrod, silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading and writing, scribing. I think that's to make sure you have that foundation. So my point is, before I got a hold of that book, I was a content 6:30 person, okay? And then, of course, being the compulsive person that I've been told that I am.
I've been told that I am.
Not that I am that.
I don't own that, but I've been told that.
I was that.
So I thought, well, if an hour is good, an hour and a half will be better. And then I did the math on that. Okay, if I do that 5 days a week, times 52 weeks or 50 weeks, let's say, imagine we took a week off, a couple weeks. What would that look like? Well, all of a sudden I end up with an extra month or something like that. It's like, holy cow, this is cool. So 4:15 is when we started getting up. When what I was getting at was, I was an early morning person. I wanted the goal bad enough to, I got to find some time somewhere in the day. And I know I'm a lot more productive in the morning than I am late at night. Although I'm not a person who wouldn't rather stay up late.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I MO'd before. But all I'm saying is we do have power over that if we choose to. That's all.
Be true to you, but be the best version of you. Yeah. Because, so here's my thing, is my work day on the East Coast versus what I do for most work officially starts at 9:30. That's why my 7:30 works, because that's 2 hours of me time. It's not going to be 5:30 though. It's just not happening.
Yeah. And I think there's a season for everything. So when the season of me trying to launch something and really take it to the next level, I was even an hour earlier than I am today. And now I'm at a different season, right? And so I think you figure out, like you said, how bad that you want it, what are you really carving out? And you may wake up and go, now what? Yeah. You really sometimes have to just sit and force yourself, to be inspired, to listen to, podcasts. Or for me, I watch other really successful folks in the sales arena, not so much in the mortgage arena, but the sales industry, and watch YouTube videos and them, on stage and different things, and learn, right? The best ideas, they say, are stolen ideas, and the reading. I kind of started that right when we started learning about Miracle Morning and things like that. So
but to be clear, I'd rather read as well. I know you mentioned that. I'd rather read, but I have a real hard time giving myself permission just to sit quietly and read when I can be taking in that same information in my next showing or my next whatever, You're
good at redeeming your time. So that is a plus.
Yeah, that is a good thing. All right, so moving right along, we're going to do what next?
Prioritize your tasks. So the idea behind time blocking is that you're saying there's a time and a place for everything, but you need to decide, is that time and place at the top of your day? Is that at the front of your day? Because we know our days can get away from us sometimes. So we want to prioritize our tasks to where the things that are most important, the non-negotiables, those high priority items, those are happening at a time where they're not going to get bumped by something else. So that's an important thing, is list your tasks and then prioritize them. What's at the top of the to-do list. So I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think I prioritize my days too. So I do certain things on Mondays, certain things on Tuesdays, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. And then someone told me a long time ago that you should have an off day. So every so many weeks, put a big X on your calendar so nothing is scheduled that day. So that could be a day that you could choose to take the longest walk you want to do, or listen to the longest podcast, or go to the spa, or do you, right? Yeah. Whatever. So you can have a regroup day. I think that's important. Now, you can book, which I do find myself scheduling maybe half of the day with work and not giving myself the full day, but I'm trying.
It's still something.
It's something there. But again, what do you do on Mondays? When we say we're real estate agents, or I'm a mortgage, I do work all the time. Well, yes, but when we start talking about time blocking, I'm very specific. For 5 years straight, every Tuesday between 9 o'clock and noon, I think, it was blocked out. It was every birthday card, every thank you note for 5 years straight. I did that. And that's how I built my business. And that was important to me. Whether I had nothing to do, I forced myself to sit in the same place on that Tuesday, for so many years. And that was a huge win for me, because I knew that if not, I'm the gray squirrel, and that's shiny, and I'll run over there. So I had to put myself someplace. So again, what do you do on Mondays? What do you do on Tuesdays? We want to meet new people, right? We want to, when you make the cold calls, you're lead generating, right? Yeah. And things like that. Well, you can structure that out, that works for you. Are you a fan of cold calling?
So I'm definitely not. We actually talked about this earlier. I'm a big fan of like soft touches and warm handoffs, and cold calling is terrifying to me. But I know that if that is blocked, I'm mentally prepared for it. I also think it helps where I kind of block time on the beginning and the end of that to like get pumped up and to decompress, because I know that's not something I like doing. So I have to block it out. I have to stick with it, and I have to give myself those little like buffer zones in between.
Yeah. And again, if lead generating is the time block, cold calling is one version of that. Going to a networking event, going to a place where there's tons of people. Now you can go to that place where there's tons of people and be a flower on the wall, right? And then not achieve anything. Or you could strengthen your skills to reach out and meet somebody new and learn a little bit about them, and then memorize some of the stuff. Today I'm at the nail salon, and that girl, she just seemed to be looking like a real estate agent. She had the look, and I was like, I'm not going to go there yet. And then all of a sudden I overheard her in a phone call talking about title and escrow and stuff. I was like, I knew it, right? And so looking not the normal way CareyAnn looks, because I was in getting my nails done after working out of the gym, and I reached out and I said who I was, and I'd love to get to know you. That is what you do, right? And that's another opportunity now for me to connect and bring back, something that we have in common, which is getting our nails done, and made sure to know her name, reconnect on social, and all the things, right? So that is another lead generating.
Yeah. You know what I love too is, regardless of what type of like lead gen you're doing in that window, when you have these time blocks that says I'm doing this specific thing, that also helps your team work around you and your schedule, because they know every Monday, CareyAnn's doing this, every Tuesday Chrissy's doing this. Like our administrative team here, we all work together so collaboratively. They know when my recruiting block is, so they're not calling my phone during my recruiting block.
Smart.
So it allows the team kind of to work effectively too. I like that.
And I stole your huddle call idea. So I have one for our team right after yours. So I was boom, boom.
I'm sure yours is a lot better than mine.
No, yours is,
Chrissy never knows what's going to come out of my mouth. You know what I'm talking about.
I got the mute button ready just in case.
I know. I keep it very straight to the point. But I love yours. I'm inspired by yours. But again, that kicks off, right, when it comes to me being a leader within, because I wear multiple hats, that does kick off what I'm going to be doing for that particular week, with that particular hat. So that part too, I think is nice. So if you have a team, that could be something that you easily time block, right? Some people have teams, but they just wing it and they don't have structure around that. Having a team call, I think at the beginning of the week is always a win.
Yeah, get on the same page for sure. One thing I love, the next thing here was it helps you control your workload. And so I didn't really thought about this, because I thought about, okay, we got to keep our schedules on track. People have to know where we're coming and going, things like that. But this allows you to see when deadlines aren't realistic, because if you have project check-ins for each thing that you're doing and you've got time blocked and you say, I can really only dedicate an hour a day to this, that means it's going to take me 2 weeks to get to the finish line. That's a lot more visible than saying, well, here's this big project. I have no clue how much time I'm going to dedicate to it, so I have no clue how long it will take to complete. So if you're working on like a project basis, especially with a team, that's huge to say, okay, what is a realistic completion date for this? So time blocking, I think, is you're laying out, you're seeing the starting line and the finish line.
Yeah, we meet a new client, how much time do we think that we're going to spend, searching, learning, showing, right? All the things, right? So I do think, and then that'll measure how many clients you're able to personally assist. Yep. And then maybe you need to add another team member, to be able to, manage that. Somebody said, everybody has 8 hours in the day, right? Type of thing. But the gentleman, the Tesla guy, what's his name? Elon Musk. He has 8 hours in the day, but he has 300 people plus, right? Right. Times 8 hours, right? And so that is why building a strong team around you with amazing professionals is always a win, because you were able to multiply that 8 hours by
Who, Not How. Read the book, Dan Kennedy, Who Not How.
Yeah, there we go. So
it's weird, so many things that you share, both of you ladies. My brain goes to a book, and then I get confirmation. Yeah, this is how you do that.
Yeah, exactly. And again, some of us, we try to do all. You can't do all. My talents are this lane, and I know that Sam's talents are that lane, and so we complement each other. Now we do start. I will say my text message goes off at 6:00 every morning between the two of us, and we kickstart the day, right? Every morning. That's our choice, and that's keeping the tempo. So within the team as well.
Yep.
Controlling your workload. I love that.
Yeah. This was an interesting...
Lock your iPhone first.
Oh, Siri's talking to us.
Oh, please.
This was an interesting thing that I didn't realize, that 20% of the U.S. population considers themselves chronic procrastinators.
Yeah. I call it fourth quarter gal. It sounds a little better.
So, you really think it's only 20%?
Well, I think it's a lot more than that, but we're also probably all lying about our best.
The other ones were procrastinating about answering the question. The rest of them.
Oh, I own it. I'm a fourth quarter gal. You wonder how CA can do it alone in 8 days? Because it's something that's got to be done very quickly.
Some people, I think, a lot of people say that, like, I can perform right up to the last minute and that's my best work, right? They'll wait until that last minute. But this was interesting. An MIT study showed that self-imposed deadlines, rather than leaving the task to the last minute, has a positive impact on performance. And so I thought, okay, well, I wait till the last minute a lot before I kind of started implementing things. And they said, if you said, I have 2 hours to get this paper in, would you write that paper in 2 hours? If you had 2 hours until your listing appointment, would you get that listing appointment presentation done in that 2 hours? Yes, because that's your window. You know what that finish line is, right? So set yourself the self-imposed fourth quarter, even if it's not the actual fourth quarter. You're creating that finish line in your own brain. You're saying this is due by this time. So setting the due date, even if it's something you set, your brain doesn't know that that's not the actual due date. It's just thinking that's what's on the calendar, that's what I'm following, that's my finish line. So your brain is still thinking it's procrastinating till the fourth quarter, but it's your self-imposed fourth quarter.
So true. I think a lot of the reason too, my procrastination sometimes is I'm fearful of doing the task. I'm like, yeah, I could do that task. And then I was like, what the heck was I thinking? I'm scared to death to do that particular task, right? And so then I'm like, I'll just wait till tomorrow. And I put it back on the list, for tomorrow. And I'll put it on the list for tomorrow.
But so then until you
have to do it, right? And then you're forced to have to jump in the deep end and just figure it out. So I love that.
12-week year.
12 here's another book.
12-week year.
We should just have the library, like the Talk Music City library.
Right there.
But it's good to have reference points, when these great topics are made. You want to go down not a rabbit hole, but you want to go down into really learning on a topic that was just been talked about, of how do you condense that period of time so that you do that self-imposed limitation of that time. And because we do think in terms of 12 months rather than in 12 weeks. And so often people wait till they get to that fourth quarter before they start really hustling. And then they're so far off their target, they get discouraged. Right. And maybe next year. But if we have those goals every 12 weeks, like we would normally every 52 weeks, anyhow, I see the real value in that.
I really and when it comes to that, I think you're right. I mean, we cannot run them up the top of the mountain by next week, right?
Yeah, little at a time.
Yeah, and it does take a little bit. I do think if you say, let's pull off an event tomorrow, I think with the expertise of being able to stick a landing, right, on something that I know I'm really good at doing, I could probably pull that off. But it does, but it also has you knowing that if you have the strength and the skill set behind you and the power, you could make something happen. But we all in different areas, we aren't as successful in all those areas. And I know many of the areas that I need a little extra time, to be able to accomplish that. But, now we have the ChatGPT, which is definitely helping us, right, launch ourselves. So as we're sitting there uninspired, or we don't have the creative spark, that has been helping me a lot. Just give me a spark of what a great idea. Okay, now I'm taking that idea and I'm running with it. That's a great idea. And then it helps you, because a lot of the time in those 2 hours that I spent, I would sit there and stare at a wall, and just try to come up with an idea or strategy. So
and that's
something helpful too.
That's a smart use of AI, because we were talking about certain pieces of AI we don't love. And I taught a workshop last Friday to some of our agents here. And we were talking about how you can use AI for helping enhance and generate captions and property descriptions and photos. And, it gives you something to then mold and perfect and personalize and customize, but it's saving,
you, right?
Yeah. It's saving some of that initial time up front. So I'm like, that's a smart way to use AI. Let it enhance your business, not replace you. Right.
Right.
We want to just have a little extra enhancement or, some ideas and things like that. So
I love, I'll ask for a power word, I'll ask for something, maybe a problem that possibly I could solve, out there when it comes to the industry. You can ask it so many different things.
Oh, yeah.
What should I wear today, Monty?
It'll give you an idea.
It'll give you an idea. I'm like, well, I'm not going to wear that,
I'll tell you what, I would have killed for a tool like that, about 10 years ago when I was writing for the Tennessean, 2 years in a row, 104 weeks in a row.
Right.
I wrote an article for this thing called the newspaper. There was this paper thing that came around and had lots of words on it.
Got your ink all over your fingers.
On Sundays, they had a real estate article, and for 104 weeks in a row, I created that. And that was one of the most challenging things I've ever done, because, like you're talking here, coming up with the material, coming up with the topic, coming up with the... But if I had something like that, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because when I did my best writing was... on emotional connection, but sometimes, you can only write about real estate in so many ways, but to have a tool like that, oh my gosh, I would have loved having that, because just give them some certain details at certain points, bullet points like we have here, and let it do its thing, and then come in and personalize it.
Well, you can even ask it, how should I start my day? How should I time block and prioritize my day as a real estate agent, right? You could do that.
And then
ideas. You can be like, okay, I like that. I'll circle that. I'm not going to do that, right? Yeah. And so then you can start to carve it out if you need an extra, hand with some assistance with that. So
I'm really guilty on this number 6, Chrissy. I got to tell you that. Man, oh man.
Context switching. I am too, though. I think that's the nature of our industry. Just we've got pop-up problems, right?
Say it again so people heard.
It's context switching. So you're moving from one thing to the other and back and forth, instead of having sole focus on just the one topic at hand. I'm guilty of that. I've got a million tabs open on my computer and in my brain at all times, right? So I'm preparing a listing appointment here, but then I get this text from my buyer. I start looking at properties for them and sending, and it's all these different things happening at once. And they say the efficiency is greatly improved if you just focus on the one thing, finish that, then move on to the next thing.
They say if you're interrupted, it's 28 minutes or something to get back on task.
Yeah.
And that multiplied by how many interruptions you could get, that's a lot of your day, right? Just to get back, into the mode. So I do like a clock timer. Right. And so shut things off for a specific time. Now, if you know that you have a schedule that's really very busy, right? So people are going to reach out to you. Maybe you shorten your time blocks, right? So they're 30 minutes, because you know that you're going to need to reach back out to somebody within the next 30 minutes. So it's 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off, 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off. You could do something like that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And there was even some that were really short. If you need, a personal break in between, you time block that 15-minute walk around your block, and then come back, you'll be refreshed. So even small little time blocks, they still count. So
yeah, I giggle, Aubrey, being a mom, this is the fun part. Do you have everything? Yes, I do, Mom. But 11-year-old, it's added. It's yes, Mom, I have everything, right? And so then she's in the car, it's like, just confirming you have everything. And the rolling of the eyes, the whole thing starts, right? Yes, Mom. So I'm on the bike. I have 30 minutes on the bike. That's all I give myself, 30 minutes. And here comes ring, 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 and she's like, Mom, I forgot my iPad. And I was like, oh, wow. Well, my mom's already moved on. So I wish you the best.
Good luck with that.
I wish you the best, right? And again, after my task, then I did that and wrote her note, I'll always be there for you. But, we need a checklist to remind ourselves, right? And so adding checklists into my world too, when you're busy, I think is a needed play. But I could be that mom. I could probably be told I'm an awful mom by not jumping to her. But I think her learning that mom's not going to jump all the time, and then I have to keep to the task.
You got to know there's consequences.
Yeah, for sure. So now there's a checklist that has to be turned in before we leave the house. So there you go.
And she'll be writing checklists and time blocking in the near future.
Yes.
What a great idea. What a great idea for a kid.
Yeah. I love it. So yeah, that's the ideas behind time blocking, and they've got 5 very simple steps. So this kind of sums it up.
How do we apply this time blocking thing? I'm hopefully I'm not too old of a dog to learn a new trick here.
No,
you're too old to learn a new trick.
It is hard though to have us break our habits though. At least you've got good habits.
So step 1. List your tasks, and I love that it includes in here even breaks and exercise. So sit down and think about what are your tasks for today, get them out of your head and into that list. So we're listing those tasks, including the breaks, the exercise, the personal time, all of that. Then step 2 is we're prioritizing those tasks. So I know some of us are like a paper and pen person, but I really like to do this on my computer so I can like move things around, because the free flow of thought gets it out of your head, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily thinking of it in the right priority order, right? So I like to kind of get it all out and then move it around and prioritize it. So now you've got your prioritized list. Now you're going to estimate how much each time or each task will take. So is this a 30-minute task? Is this a 1-hour task? Is this a quick and easy 15-minute task? Assign that time to each one and then get onto your calendar and block that out. So now you know what is it, what order is it, how long will each one take? You know exactly what time blocks to put on that calendar. And then step 5 is, I think the hardest one, is stick with it. Live by that calendar.
If it's not on the calendar, I don't do it, you know, and people are like, how did you keep, your health regimen, with going to the gym? Because it's on the calendar, because I paid for it. And if not, I'm going to still have to pay for it. It's on the calendar, even scheduling closing, they say I want to close in 30 days. So you look at the 30 day and you just decide that that's the time frame of when you're going to, plan your closing. Well, that 30 days lands on a Tuesday, but you would love to close all things on a Wednesday, let's just say. You could move it up a week. You could push it, back a day. You could try to coordinate and try to keep the tempo of your routine, that that this is your day of blank, right? This is your day of this and this is your day of that. So you can really give your all for that particular day. I know it's not easy, but if someone's asking you when's the best day to close, right? So you can kind of coordinate, that out. You have inspections, so you would love to do inspections, on this time of the day versus that time of the day. Or maybe you have to coordinate a pickup of a child, so you have to do certain things. For me, I can't really be after hours anymore. So you notice the happy hours start at 3. 3 to 6, we're all, having a get together, that kind of thing, right? So you kind of figure out what works best by still giving your all, and achieving, all of your goals. I think you can still make that happen. So by time blocking.
I think, you give 100% to what's in front of you. And that I think clients really appreciate that, because you're not looking at your phone and answering texts and questions from other people while you're in front of this client appointment, So if you've time blocked that listing presentation for that hour, isn't that seller going to feel super special when you have nothing but attention for them at that time? That's a big deal.
What do they call it? I just lost my train of thought, but boundaries, right? And so healthy boundaries, right? And so I was like, I don't understand. I was meeting this girl. She's a top agent for our local real estate community here. And she has very healthy boundaries. And she says, you just put them in place and you explain the why behind them. And when you find your people and you'll attract more of those people, everybody will appreciate and respect your boundaries. And I thought that was a big wow for me. And I started implementing those. Many people know, Aubrey eats dinner at 6:00. That's a routine. That's a consistent routine. And so people will then get me after or before, it became a respected boundary, for my family. And I thought that was a win. And setting those up for success. So
that's great.
Well, ladies, I really appreciate you guys jumping into this topic.
It's a good topic.
We all can benefit from, for sure. You both exemplified the value of such, not commitment I'm looking for, such discipline. That's the word I'm looking for, discipline, because that is what time blocking needs, is discipline. But if it gives you more time to accomplish the things you need to accomplish and a life on top of that, I think it's probably worth considering doing. Thank you so much, Chrissy, for being here with us.
Thank you, Chrissy. We love having you here.
And it's just
come back soon.
It's so great to see, again, both of you manifesting what the topic just was. So
yes, and we're excited for you to time block, and we're thankful for you've been listening to the talk of Music City Real Estate.